He's thinking about all these different things. But one of those things could easily be your cell phone. Your cell phone is cooking your balls.
Your laptop does that too.
Yeah, well, that's heat, though.
Is this what you're talking about, heat or radiation?
No, it's the signal. It's the megahertz. It's the spectrum, the radio spectrum that is a cell phone. That's a good question. Apparently, having the receiver right next to your balls is like really bad for your balls. Your balls are just battling this radiation. Now, I just want to say, I've done no research other than read what he said. So I haven't researched this online.
Yeah, that's like it's like the brain cancer. It switches left and right every time. You know, every time they say, "Oh no, cell phones give you brain cancer," but they say it's true one day and then it's true not the other.
I don't think. First of all, I don't think it has to give you brain damage to be fucking you up. It could be fucking you up in subtle ways. It's very possible. It doesn't necessarily have to give you tumors. But if the potential for giving you tumors is there, what does that mean? That it either kills you or it does nothing to you? So either it turns your fucking head into a grapefruit, and pineapples start growing off the side of your head, your brain, or it does nothing. That's ridiculous to me. To me, that seems like we're being silly. That's a silly way of looking at health. That it has no effect on you other than maybe kills your brain.
I just tweeted this thing in Virginia. There's a part of Virginia that is a cell phone free zone because there's some kind of radio telescopes out there, and they want to have the purest signal, and they don't want any disruption. So there's a name for these zones, and there are these people who've been moving to this town. I can't remember the name of it. Green something, West Virginia. It's my last tweet, but they've been moving to this town because they think that they're sensitive to cell phone frequencies and they break out in rashes. And this article, it said that like the UN has acknowledged that this does exist, this health problem does exist, but there's no proof that it's from cell phones. But there are people who get really sick when they're in cell phone areas. And, I'm sure a lot of them are kooks, but, who knows?
Well, that's a good guess because a lot of everybody whenever outrageous claims come up, you got to think a certain percentage of them are kooks. But I don't think we've completely assessed the effects of all these wireless signals.
Think of that shit, man. Think about the fucking megabytes of information pouring through the air at any second. It's like if all like the information that can create the beautiful world of Warcraft is like flying around me at every second. That can't be good for you. That's so much information just blasting out of your modem at all times. How is that not going to affect you in some way?
Yeah, but even if you can't process the information rationally, is your brain still tuning into it? Like all these wireless signals that are in our... I mean, we never think about that because it really hasn't... Wireless, like real full wireless like we have now with like internet and and radio signals where your cordless phones are on a certain frequency, and then of course cell phones.
Yeah.
This is really kind of recent, right? Like how many years has it been? Slowly since the 80s, right?
Yeah, but even
that's
in
when it started.
I don't know when wireless routers started. I mean, like in
much more recently.
Right? Yeah. So there were cell phones, but I bet the information that was coming through was less. It had to have been because fewer people had cell phones.
I remember the first time I got a computer that was wireless. I was like, this is the craziest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm nowhere near a wire and I'm online.
Right.
And that's when you really start to think how crazy the fucking internet is. That this thing that I can't see can fly through the air at like ridiculous speeds and sits on my laptop and I get all the answers to anything. It's basically, this is a magic box that lets me have every answer to everything that's ever been asked that human beings have answered.
But what's coming through the air? Isn't it just is it like a sound that's telling your computer?
It's a signal.
It's a signal that's like ones and zeros, basically.
It's a certain frequency.
It's like it's like the old dial tone sound that used to dial in using a 56K modem, but quiet.
I believe that wireless internet was invented by Nikola Tesla, too. I believe the concept of it came from his work. Is that true? You did that drunk Tesla thing, drunken moment. And if you haven't seen this, folks, it is one. I retweeted it just the other day.
I saw it.
One of my favorite videos that I think is one of the funniest videos ever because it's, first of all, it's so informative. It's really interesting. A lot of people don't even know who Nikola Tesla is. He was this amazing genius, and one of my personal best examples of that. I have a lot of theories about brilliant people, and a lot of the brilliant people that I've met have been crazy. You know, there's something there. They might not be 100% crazy. You know, maybe it's only 10% crazy. Maybe they're hanging on with 20 or 30% crazy. But I almost believe to be super, super brilliant at something like Tesla was, like at that level, so far beyond everybody else, that almost like you have to be
you get quirks
tuned out. You can't be balanced. There's no way.
Well, remember when you were a kid and you would play make believe with your friends, and whatever that was that you did, like I don't know, cowboys and Indians.
I play with my daughter all the time.
So now imagine this. Imagine that you had to play that game for the rest of your life, even though you knew you were playing with kids and you knew it was just this big kids game. Maybe when people get super, super, super smart, they recognize that they're sort of trapped in this dimension where everybody's deeply engrossed in what amounts to a baby's game that they all think is very important. They all think it's really serious, but you recognize, oh no, this isn't even a 1% of what exists in the world. This isn't even 1%. These idiots are playing the game of like presidents and country and army and police officer, a married person, but it's just a game. Maybe when you get really, really smart, you see that, and all of a sudden you don't if you're not really smart, or if you're just one of us, you just normally play the game. You don't even think about it. You wake up, go to work, you just play the game. But imagine if you knew this was a make-believe game. So every day you woke up and you're like, well, got to go play this absurd, silly game, and you just knew it. Then you'd start doing weird shit. Because it'd be hard for you to just instinctually do all the different things that everyone does. You'd start doing weird shit. And people would be like, he's kind of off, isn't he? He's a little off. He doesn't shake hands. I wonder why he doesn't shake hands. What's shaking hands? It's a stupid fuck. I don't want to slap tentacles. I'm sorry. I don't feel like rubbing tentacles with you today.
You don't want to touch people. You don't want to offer up your sword hand.
I feel disrespected.
You know, that's what it was. You would offer up your sword hand.
That's right.
So you couldn't kill each other at that moment.
I'm not going to stab you.
That's not why in England they still drive on the left-hand side. You know, we drive on the right-hand side. They drive on the left because that was how you rode a horse and had your sword in your right hand. So if some douchebag's coming in the other direction, you want to get him on your right side so you can sword his ass.
Jesus Christ.
That's why they drive on that side of the street. I mean, it makes sense because, look, realistically, it was just a couple hundred years ago and people were riding horses everywhere.
Times were tough.
That's how it worked. That's not that long ago, man.
I know.
It's amazing when you stop and think about that. And Nikola Tesla is really one of the reasons why we're so fucking advanced. Like, if you look back at the inventions that this guy was responsible for and all the patents that this guy was responsible for, it's a brilliant thing, and I don't remember hearing a fucking peep about him in high school. Somebody told me about him when I was in college, and it wasn't even in a class. Some dude was reading something about the guy, and he looked interesting on the cover. And I think that's how I learned about Nikola Tesla. But I mean, I didn't take any science.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Point that out. But I never hear about. You hear about Thomas Edison. You hear about Benjamin Franklin, the people that invented him. Oh, he invented electricity. He went a kite with a fucking key.
That's right.
No, Nikola Tesla was talking to aliens, bitch. All right, that guy was inventing everything and wound up dying like completely crazy.